everyone, very welcome to Vyas Edification Kota. So today again in the series of NCERT discussion, we are going to discuss each and every question of your NCERT textbook, and in the today's session we are taking a chapter from class 11th, that is the living world, which is a very first chapter in your class 11th. This chapter includes 11 questions actually, and in this session we are going to discuss each and every question one by one. So the very first question we have is, why are living organisms classified? Why are living organisms classified? So first of all, you all need to understand that what is classification. What is classification? Now, you all people know the basic definition of classification, that classification is actually a system, a whole set of system which includes different processes, such as first we characterize any organism. The basic process which includes in the classification system is we characterize any organism first. Then we identify that particular organism, and after identifying the organism, what we do is we provide the organism their scientific as well as the common name. Alright, so this whole set of processes actually constitute a whole system which is known as classification, and after providing names to the organism, we classify those organisms based upon their characters into different groups. So classification is a whole set of processes which includes what does it include? First is characterization, in which we characterize the organism. We find what kind of characters are present in the particular organism which we want to identify, which we want to classify. So first what we do characterization, then after we identify the organism. Alright, we identify the organism based upon the characters present in it. Alright, then after what we do, we provide the name to particular organism, and that process is known as nomenclature. So the last process in this will be nomenclature. After doing all these three things or following these all three processes, we finally are in the position to classify any particular organism. So finally then we classify any organism. Now the question is actually, why do we classify these organisms into different groups? Why are the living organisms are being classified? Why? What is the need to classify these organisms into different categories? So first, if we talk about the reasons why we classify this is first is we want to identify the organism. All right, we want to identify the organism. These are the reasons. All right, these are the reasons. So first is we need to identify the organism. Then is we classify the organism to make our study easy. Alright, scientists classify the organism to make study convenient and to research on them. They classify the organism to make our study easy and convenient, and also it helps in researching. Alright, then first is identify, and second is to make study easy and convenient, and also it helps in research. Then third one is When we classify any organism into different categories, we find some similarities as well as dissimilarities among the organism, as well as we find the similarities and dissimilarities with other organism in particular group. So third thing is, it helps, the classification system helps to identify the similarities and dissimilarities. Alright, this is the reason. Then if we talk about the fourth reason would be, we find interrelationship when we classify an organism, when we follow all these steps, characterization, identification, nomenclature. What we find is that particular organism on which we are studying or on which we are researching, that particular organism is having interrelationship with different kind of organisms which have been put into different groups or that particular group. So we identify or we come to know the interrelationship of that organism with other organism. Alright, so with the help of classification, we will find the interrelationship and also one more important thing, the interrelationship with other organism, and also we get to know what are the ancestors, what would be the ancestors of that particular organism. So we can say that we will come to know the interrelationship of that particular organism with other organism, as well as we can find the phylogenetic relationship. Alright. Next thing is, with the help of classification, we get to know that how a complex organism actually has been evolved from a simple organism. Basically, classification helps us to understand the evolutionary process. So, for fifth point is, classification helps us to identify, know the evolutionary processes, that how any complex organism have evolved from a simple organism. So all these are the reasons, and this is the classification. I hope you got all the clear answer that what is classification and what is the answer of why the living organisms are classified. You have all this complete answer that what is classification. It is a system which includes different processes such as characterization, identification, nomenclature, and then finally we classify the organism. Alright, and here are the reasons why we need to classify the living organism, or what is the need to classify the living organism into different groups. Alright, which includes several kind of reasons. That first is we identify organisms. All right, then it helps for making our study easy and convenient, and we can do research on them further. Then it also helps to find similarities and dissimilarities. All right, then we can get to know the interrelationship as well as the phylogenetic relationship. And also classification helps to understand the evolutionary process, or we can say it also helps to understand actually how any complex organism has been evolved from a normal simple organism. As we know that during evolution, we know that first organisms were very simple, that were prokaryotic and unicellular. All right, and now today we have most complex, most advanced organisms, multicellular organism, eukaryotic organism. So the study of classification is actually helpful to us to understand how we have evolved from a simple molecule, simple organism, unicellular prokaryotic organisms. We have evolved this much. So this actually set the basis to understand how evolution takes place? This is the complete answer of this question. Second question is, why are the classification systems changing every now and then? So question is asking what is the need and why actually the classification system is changing every now and then. So we know that millions of plants, millions of animals and millions of microorganisms have been discovered or found in the living world around us, which are actually discovered by the scientists already. Now, if we talk about the documented figure of species discovered till date, that is 1.7 to 1.8 million, which also represents the biodiversity of the living world. So, if we talk about the answer of this question, then we have to write that millions of plants, animals and microorganisms have been found and already discovered by scientists. All right. And what is the exact documented figure which have been discovered by the scientists till date? That is 1.7 to 1.8 million of species. We have already discovered species till date is 1.7 to 1.8 million of species have already been discovered by the scientists. Now, in our changing world, in the living world, the new species are being discovered around us. Alright, so therefore, to classify all these newly discovered species with their new characters, with the new classification system, we actually want to classify them into their respective groups, of course. So this actually creates the requirement of classification system changing every now and then. So what would be the answer of this question? That millions of plants, millions of animals and microorganisms are already being discovered by the scientists. And if we talk about the exact figure which we have till date of the species is actually 1.7 to 1.8 million. Now if we talk about the recent scenario, we know that in our world, in our living world, as the evolution is actually is a process, so we find new species, we find new organisms with their new characters, alright? We find new organisms, we find new species. So to classify all these newly discovered species or newly discovered organisms with their new characters, we need to classify them in their respective groups, alright? So this actually creates the requirement of changing the classification system every now and then. So we'll write new species or organisms are being discovered around us in the world, all right, in the world. And we need to classify them in their respective groups with their particular character or any symptom, right? So therefore we need to classify these newly discovered organism or species into groups, into different groups in their respective groups, of course, and this creates the requirement. This creates the requirement to change the classification system every now and then. Every now and then. Alright, so this is the complete solution, this is the complete answer of question number 2. Question number 3, what different criteria would you choose to classify people that you meet often? So, there can be various criteria by which we can classify the people we meet often. For example, when we classify people, we can classify the organism or people on the basis of their height. Some people can be tall or some people can be dwarf. So height can be the criteria by which we can classify the people we often meet. Alright, then if we take example of their physical appearance, right? Someone can be fat, someone can be thin. So basically we can classify the people we often meet on the basis of their physical appearance. We can classify the people on the basis of their education. We can classify the people even on the basis of their profession, on the basis of their native place, on the basis of their hobbies as well, and last but not the least, we can classify the people we often meet on the basis of their gender, which can help to understand the people better. So what would be the answer of this question? That we can classify, first of all, we'll write the answer systematically, very systematically, that there could be various, there can be various criterias by which we can classify the people we often meet. Alright, now we can classify people, now we can classify people on the basis of number 1, their physical appearance, alright, their physical appearance. For example, height. Second, on the basis of their education, on the basis of their hobbies, on the basis of their profession, of course, on the basis of their profession. Their native place can be the criteria also, their native place, from where they belong. Actually, this can also be the criteria to classify the people. Alright, and last but not the least, we can classify the people on the basis of their gender. Alright, and this will help to understand the people and the classification as well. So this is the complete solution and answer of this question number 3. Now question number 4, what do we learn from identification of individuals and population? Now this actually helps us and allows us to put any certain organism into a group. Alright, now answer goes like this. When we start or try to study and understand the characteristics of any individual, we shall find similarities and dissimilarities of that particular organism within the population and between different organisms. Alright, now when this process of classification done on any population or on entire population in a given region or in a region, alright, then it actually helps to identify, to classify or to divide the organisms into different groups based upon those similarities and dissimilarities we found. The knowledge of similarities and dissimilarities helps us to understand that particular organism in a better way, as well as to understand the population as well. Alright, so this whole process actually helps us to understand the whole organism, the population, and also we can now easily study, do research on the organisms, and we can easily understand the process of evolution. We can easily understand what changes have been occurred in the organism during the time of evolution and with the environment factors. Alright, so this is the answer, and if we write the correct answer of this question, this will go like this, that this allows, first of all, this allows a certain organism, this allows to put a certain organism into group. All right, how it can help to put a certain organism into group? It will do like this. Then when we start study and understand any organism, we shall find similarities. We will find similarities as well as dissimilarities. All right, within the population as well as between the organism in that population. Now, when this process of classification done on an entire population, in a given region, then this will allow to identify or to classify or to divide. This will allow, or this will help to divide the organisms based on these similarities and dissimilarities only. All right, based on these similarities and dissimilarities only, which actually helps to understand the organism or individual as well as the population. And overall, this will help to make our study easy, convenient, and to understand the process of evolution as well as the changes that occur in an organism with respect to the time and environment. So this is the complete solution of question number 4. Now here we have question number 5. Given below is the scientific name of mango. Identify the correctly written name, which is Mangifera indica and Mangifera indica. This should be written here, Mangifera indica. Alright, I'm writing it again, Mangifera indica. Alright, now we know that there are some set rules for naming any organism, any living organism. There are some rules of nomenclature, and what does the rule of nomenclature say? That any living organism have their scientific name as well as their common name. We are talking about the scientific names of any living organism, and according to the rule of nomenclature, we know that any scientific name which is given to the living organism should be consisting of two words. First word is genus, and the second one word is specific epithet or species. So we know that we have two options here, and both the options consisting two words in it. Alright, first is Mangifera and second one is indica. In this we already have Mangifera and indica. So we have two words in a scientific name of any organism. That is, the first word would be of genus and second one is species or specific epithet. Now, what does the rule of nomenclature says? That when any scientific name of a living organism is typed, then the first letter of the genus should be in capital, and the second word, which is a specific epithet, the first letter of specific epithet or species should be in small letter. So according to the rule, if the scientific name typed, then the first letter of the scientific name should be in capital. Alright, and the mango have a scientific name as Mangifera indica. This is the correct. Now, if first letter of the genus should be, the first letter of genus should be capital. So we will write like this, Mangifera. First letter of the genus is in capital letter, and according to the rule, first letter of the species or specific epithet should be in small. So I am writing here indica separately, which is a species or specific epithet of a mango. This is the rule when the scientific name of any living organism is typed. Alright, if any scientific name is handwritten, then both species and specific epithet should be underlined separately. This is the complete rule of nomenclature. Alright, so if the scientific name is handwritten, both components such as genus and species in a scientific name should be underlined, but underlined separately. So I hope you all got the answer of this question, and this is the complete solution of question number 5. Now question number 6, define a taxon, give some examples of taxa at different hierarchical levels. Now, what is actually a taxa? First of all, taxa is a particular category in the classification of any living being or organism. So if we write, first thing is a particular level, we can define as a taxon as particular level in the hierarchy of classification of living organism. But this is not the complete definition of taxon. So here is the complete definition of taxon, that any particular level in the hierarchy of classification of any living organism or living being, and is actually a group of population. Taxon is a group of population. It can be one or it can be more than one. So taxon is a group of one or more than one population of organism. So the correct definition would be like this: a taxon is a group of one or more than one population of an organism or individual, right? Now, if we talk about the example, of taxa in the hierarchical levels, we know that we have a hierarchy in the classification, and it goes like this. If we write the hierarchy in the classification, it goes like this. First we have is kingdom, which is a particular level in the hierarchy of a classification, and it is the highest group, highest category in the hierarchy of a classification. So it goes like this. First is kingdom, then we have phylum or division, then we have class, then is order, then family, then genus, and the last one we have is species. Alright, so in the hierarchy of a classification, we have different categories, we have different groups in which we can put organisms into different categories or groups based upon the similarities and dissimilarities. Alright, so we have kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus and species as the different categories in the hierarchy of a classification. If we talk about the species, it is the basic unit, it is the base of the hierarchy of a classification. And if we talk about the kingdom, it is the highest category, highest group in the hierarchy of a classification. In this hierarchy of a classification, each category, each group or category actually representing a taxon at this level. So I may write that in whole hierarchy of a classification, each category or group represents the taxon. For example, species and also kingdom. Alright, so this is the complete answer or solution of question number 6. So now we are up to question number 7. Can you identify the correct sequence of taxonomical categories? No. We have given 3 options and we have to choose the correct sequence of taxonomical categories or taxonomical groups. Now for this, we have to write the taxonomical hierarchy, which starts with kingdom. Alright, it starts with kingdom and it goes like this. From kingdom to phylum, then class, then order, family, then genus, and the last one and the basic one we have is species. Alright. Now we have to identify the correct sequence of taxonomical category according to the hierarchy of classification we have. Alright. So let's check the very first option, species, order, phylum and kingdom. As species, we have species as the smallest and basic unit of the hierarchy. Then we have order. Alright, it jumped to order, from species to order. Then it jumped to phylum. Okay, now after phylum they have given kingdom. So first option can be correct. Now we have to check the second option, genus, species. Genus, species, they again jumped to order and then kingdom. So this sequence is not correct one. So we'll mark a wrong on second option. This is not a correct option. Either we will move from species to genus to family, order, class, phylum and then kingdom, or we will move from kingdom to phylum, class, order, family, genus and species. We'll move always either in the ascending order or in descending order, but not randomly. Alright, now let's check the third option, species, alright, genus, then we have order and phylum. Species, genus, order and then phylum. Alright, third option can also be correct. So among all these three options, we have two options as correct. It can also be correct that species, order, phylum and kingdom, as it is moving from species to kingdom. Second option is absolutely incorrect because it is a random order. Then in third option we have species, genus, order and phylum. Alright, so this can also be correct. So this is all about question number 7. Now question number 8, try to collect all the currently accepted meanings for the word species and discuss with your teacher the meaning of species in case of higher plants and animals on one hand and bacteria on the other hand. Now, if we try to answer the question the answer of this question goes like this. First of all, we need to understand what is species. Alright. So for any biologist or any scientist, in a biological term, species is actually the basic unit of taxonomy. First of all, species is a basic unit of taxonomy. Now, what is actually species? What do you understand by species? So, a group of organisms with similar structural and functional characteristics that can breed in nature with each other only and can have close ancestral relations. Alright, so this group of organisms which have close ancestry, which can breed among themselves only with having similar structures and functions also. This whole group is known as species. Alright, and if we talk about the case of plants and animals, so the species or any individual or any organism in case of higher plants and animals, they are distinguished from each other on the basis of morphological characters. Alright, in the case of plants and animals. And in the case of bacteria, we classify the species, species of bacteria on the basis of their shape. Hence, the species for higher plants, for animals and for bacteria are actually different. So, if we write the answer of this question, that first of all we will write what is actually species. In biological terms, or for any biologist or for any biologist, species is the basic unit of taxonomy. All right. Now, the most important thing about this answer is we need to understand, we need to know that what is actually species, what is the clear-cut definition of species. So, here we are writing the correct definition of species, that species is a group of organisms with similar structural and functional characteristics that can breed in nature. Naturally they can breed, all right. They can breed in nature within themselves, with each other only, and have close ancestry. Alright, so this is the correct definition, word to word correct definition of species. Now in case of higher plants and animals, the species are distinguished in case of higher plants and animals. Alright, species are classified or species are distinguished on the basis of the morphological, on the basis of their morphological characters. So species are distinguished on the basis of their morphological characters. Alright, and in the case of bacteria, the species are distinguished on the basis of shape. Hence, we can conclude that in case of higher plants, animals and bacteria, species are not same at all. Alright, so this is the complete solution. This is the complete answer of question number 8. Now question number 9, define and understand the following terms. First term which we have is phylum, second class, third family, order and genus. Now we have to define all these terms along with the examples to understand each and every term in detail. So to classify, to identify, to write the definition of all these terms, we need to write the hierarchy of a classification. Alright, so I am writing here and we will start like this. First we will write kingdom, which is the very first category in the hierarchy of a classification, and it is the first and biggest category in the hierarchy of a classification. So first is kingdom, then we have phylum, then we have class, then order, then family, and then we have genus, and last and the smallest unit of the hierarchy of a classification we have is species. Alright, so this is the hierarchy, or this is the order, this is the descending order of all the categories included in the hierarchy of a classification. The first one we have is kingdom, which is the huge category, biggest category in the hierarchy. Alright, then comes phylum, which is smaller category according to the, or as compared to the kingdom. Then we have class, then we have order, family, genus and species. As we come across species, which is the lowest category in the hierarchy of a classification, this is the smallest category, smallest group. Alright, this is the smallest group, smallest category in the hierarchy of a classification. Now, according to this, we can actually define all these terms. If we write the first one, that is phylum, we can write that it is a taxonomic group. First of all these are taxonomic group. As you can see, this is a part of taxonomy. Alright, so each and every category, each and every group in the hierarchy of a classification is actually a taxon, or collectively we can say a taxa. Alright. Now, if we want to define each and every category, each and every category represents taxon. So, phylum is one of them. Phylum is included in the hierarchy of a classification. So, we are writing that phylum is actually taxonomic category. First of all these are taxonomic categories. It is a taxonomic category including one or more class. Alright, this is the definition of phylum. This is the only definition of phylum, that phylum is actually a taxonomic category in the hierarchy of a classification which includes one or more class. If we talk about the phylum in case of plants, we often use division. We often use another word, that is division in case of plants. Instead of phylum, we use division in case of plants. Alright, if we talk about class, the definition of class, then class is also a taxonomic category. Alright, I'm not writing fully. It is also a taxonomic category which includes different orders. If we take example of this, then we know that class Mammalia includes many orders. Alright, includes many orders. Mammalia is a class and it includes various orders in it. So consisting all these orders, it makes a huge group which is known as class. Alright, then comes towards the third term, that is family. Now what do you mean by family? It is of course also a taxonomic category which includes, it is also a taxonomic category which includes different genus. Alright, and in case of plants, the plants are actually classified on the basis of vegetative as well as their reproductive characters. So in case of plants, they are classified on the basis of vegetative and reproductive characters. Alright. Now here comes with the fourth term, that is order. So order is also a taxonomic group or category which includes different families. Alright, different families. For example, order Carnivora can include many families. Alright, so for example, we can write that order Carnivora includes many families, Felis, alright, like Felis and all. If we talk about the last term that is given, and it is genus. Now, what is genus? Genus is a taxonomic group under the hierarchy of a classification which is including different species. Alright, it is a group which includes, it is a group of taxonomy. So, taxonomic category including different species. If we take an example of this genus, then genus Solanum includes nigrum, alright, and tuberosum like this. So all these are the terms which we easily can define with the help of the hierarchy with the help of the knowledge of hierarchy of classification, and we have defined all these terms very well with the example. So this is the correct solution, this is the correct answer of this question number 9. Now we have question number 10, which is the second last question of this chapter, that is, how is a key helpful in the identification and classification of an organism? So first of all, we need to understand that what is key, then we are going to talk about how is it useful to identify an organism or to classify an organism. Alright, so what do you understand by key? So key is actually a taxonomical aid which is helpful to identify any organism. Alright, these keys are based on similarities and dissimilarities of a character generally occurring in a pair, which can be called as couplet. Alright, now each statement in a key is referred to as lead. Alright, so this is key, that key is actually a taxonomical aid which helps us to identify the organism, which helps us to classify the organism into different categories, into their respective categories. These keys are based on similarities and dissimilarities of characters generally occurring in a pair called as couplet. Each statement in a key is known as lead. Alright, so first of all we are going to write what is key. So key is a taxonomical aid, helps us to classify the organism into their respective group. Okay, and keys looks like this. We have separate columns, and in one column we will have similarities, in another column we will have dissimilarities, and the statements given like this: first statement, second statement of similarity, second statement of dissimilarities. Generally the statements occur in pair. Alright, so key looks like this. We have a lot of statements parallelly in the column of similarities and in the column of dissimilarities, and these pair of statements are actually known as couplet, and each individual statement, suppose if the statement 1 is given in the similarities and statement 1 is given in the dissimilarities, both the statement number 1 in similarities and statement 1 in dissimilarities, both are a couplet. Alright, and each statement, suppose statement number 1, statement number 2, statement number 1 in dissimilarities column, statement number 2 in dissimilarities column, each statement in key is referred to as lead. So I'm writing here that key is a taxonomical aid which can help us to classify the organism into their respective group, and these keys are based on similarities and dissimilarities of characters occurring in pair called as couplet. Alright, I hope you understood that what is couplet. Now each statement in a key is referred to as lead. Each and every statement in a key is referred to as a lead. These two terms are very, very important. They can be asked in board and they can be asked in NEET. So couplet and lead are the most important terms related to the taxonomical aid key. So you have to remember these two terms, couplet and lead. Now, how it can help us to classify any organism? So when we classify any taxonomic group or any taxonomic rank such as family, order, genus, etc., we classify them according to the key. We classify them according to these dissimilarities and similarities given in the key. And also this key actually can help us to identify any unknown organism based on the similarities and dissimilarities given in a key. So this is how any key which includes the similarities and dissimilarities in it can help us to identify, can help us to classify the taxonomic rank into different categories, and as well as it can help us to identify any unknown organism. Suppose we are finding or discovering any organism, we will see the characters, and we will match those characters which are given in the key as similarities and dissimilarities. We will see the organism and we will think that, oh, this organism is actually looking like this. This actually the organism resembling that organism. We will find the key related to that particular organism and we will read the statements given in the key, and then we'll match the characters. We will match the similarities and dissimilarities as well to the newly discovered organism, and accordingly then we will classify the newly discovered organism into its respective category. Alright, so this is how a key can be useful to identify all unknown organism as well as to classify different ranks. So this is the complete answer of question number 10. So now here we comes with the last question of this chapter, and the question number 11 is asking that illustrate the taxonomical hierarchy with suitable examples of a plant and an animal. So first of all we'll see that what is actually taxonomical hierarchy. Now we know that there are various taxa included in the hierarchical classification. Alright, so the arrangement, what is the definition of taxonomical hierarchy? The arrangement of various taxa in a hierarchical order, in the classification, which is known as taxonomical hierarchy. Now we will see the examples of animal and plant. And in case of plant, we are taking example of Solanum melongena, Solanum melongena, which is a scientific name for brinjal, and we are writing the scientific name for brinjal by our hand, so it should be written or it should be underlined separately like this. Okay, so this is the scientific name of brinjal. And for example, if we take an example of animal, we'll see the taxonomical hierarchy for Columba livia. Alright, it is a kind of bird which have a common name like blue rock dove. Okay, so this is the examples we are taking. First we'll illustrate the taxonomical hierarchy for the Solanum melongena, and it goes like this. First of all we'll write kingdom, we'll see kingdom, then phylum or division. Alright, and we use division of more often in case of plants. So kingdom, phylum, then we'll see class, order, family, genus, and last species. Alright, now we are going to write all the taxonomic categories for Solanum melongena. So this Solanum melongena or brinjal actually belongs to the kingdom of Plantae. So this Plantae will be the kingdom for this particular organism. Alright, if we talk about the phylum, then phylum would be Angiospermi. Phylum would be Angiospermi. Now if we talk about the class, then if we talk about the class of this Solanum melongeni will be Dicotyledony. Alright, if we talk about the order, then we have order Solenales. And the family of this Solanum melongeni will be Solanaceae. And if we talk about the genus, then genus would comprise of Solanum, and last one species. So species would be comprising of Melongena. Species is Melongena. So this is how we write the hierarchical category or taxonomical hierarchy of a particular organism. And in case of plants, we took an example of Solanum melongena, which is a scientific name for brinjal. It is a scientific name for brinjal. Alright. Now, in case of animals, we will write all these taxonomical ranks for this particular organism such as Columba livia, which is a bird, and the common name for this is blue rock dove. Now let's talk about first we'll write about the kingdom of this organism, then we'll be talk about the phylum, then this would be class. Then order, family, then genus, and finally the species. Alright. Now, so if we talk about the example of animal, that is Columba livia, which is a kind of bird, and the common name for this is blue rock dove. So we'll write the all taxonomical hierarchy of Columba livia, and as I mentioned that this organism Columba livia is a bird, is a kind of bird. So it belongs to the kingdom Animalia. It does not belong to Plantae. So the kingdom of this will be Animalia. The phylum we are talking about, this particular organism would be Chordate. This would be Chordata. Alright, this is Chordata. If we talk about the class of Columba livia, then it would be Aves, as it is a bird. So it is a bird, and thus we are including this Columba livia in a class of Aves. Now, if we talk about the order of Columba livia, then it would be Columbiformes. And if we talk about the family, then it would be Columbidae. Then here we comes with the genus of Columba livia, then the genus would be Columba. And last is species. Species is Livia. As in the name, in the scientific name, we know that this is the genus and this is the species. We'll know the taxonomical hierarchy of genus and species in the name itself. Alright, we don't have to remember the species and genus of that scientific name, because it is already given in the name, already given in the scientific name. So what we have to learn is the kingdom, phylum, class, order and family. Up to the family we have to remember all the taxonomical hierarchy of some common organisms in plants and animals, of course, and the genus and species we'll get from the scientific name itself. So this is the example of Solanum melongena, which included in the kingdom Plantae, and Columba livia, which is included in the kingdom Animalia. So this is the complete solution, this is the complete answer of question number 11, and now we have completed all the solutions of the questions, all the 11 questions given in your NCERT textbook in the chapter number 1, Living World. So this is all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.